So for the conditional statement P imply Q, there are other expressions which are closely related to this. We shall see whether they are logically equivalent, do they follow from this, and so on. The first one is something called inverse. So for the expression P imply Q, the inverse of P imply Q is negation P imply negation Q. And something that we have used in our context quite often, something called converse. Converse of P imply Q is Q imply P. And something quite interesting which we will use very often in this course, something called contrapositive. So the contrapositive of P imply Q is negation Q imply negation P. So interestingly, P imply Q and contrapositive negation Q imply negation P, they are equivalent irrespective of P and Q, irrespective of the instantiation of P and Q. And the other two depends on the context. There are examples where converse is true for P and Q, and there are contexts where the inverse is true, but in general it is not. But in general, P imply Q and contrapositive are one and the same, which is quite interesting. And let's justify. So what am I saying? P imply Q is equivalent to negation Q imply negation P, or P imply Q this, or P imply Q biconditional negation Q imply negation P is a tautology. We shall justify this now. Let's look at the truth table method. Let's look at P. Let's look at Q. True, 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 false, false, true, false, false. So P imply Q is true, false, true, true. And we need negation P and negation Q. Let me look at negation Q. So false, true, false, true. Then negation P, which is false, false, true, true. And then we need negation Q imply negation P, which is true, false, true, and true. So finally we need P imply Q, this let me call it as X, and this we need, let me call it as Y. So we need X implies Y, correct? And we need biconditional between them, so we need this. So true, true is true, false, false is true, this and this. So this shows that P imply Q and negation Q imply negation Q are equivalent. So in a context, if P imply Q appears, you can replace that with negation Q imply negation P. So similarly, in a context, negation Q imply negation P appears, you can replace that with P imply Q. And so in general, P imply Q does not imply, so I write like this, does not imply the inverse, which is negation P imply negation Q. Similarly, P imply Q does not imply the converse, Q imply this. And however, contrapositive is always same as P imply Q. For some specific examples, instances, P imply Q implies negation P imply negation Q. Similarly, Q imply P. In general, it is not, but there are specific examples, instances where it is true. You think about specific example instances where inverse follows from P imply Q. Similarly, the converse is also true. Okay. I mean, when we say P imply Q, and this implies negation Q imply negation P. So which means in a context, if P imply Q appears, you can replace that with negation Q imply negation P. Can I do that for inverse and converse? One can do it for specific examples, instances, but not in general. Which means if P and Q are arbitrary, and can I always say inverse follows from this and converse follow from this? Answer is no. Whereas contrapositive, for any P and Q, P imply Q implies this, and they are equivalent, so contrapositive also implies P imply Q. Look at this expression. So P XOR Q, and on the other side I say P biconditional Q. Let me take the negation for this. So I am saying this one is true. Let's verify. So we have P and Q. So XOR of this says exactly one of them must be true, otherwise it is false. Okay, now let's look at the biconditional operator. Biconditional operator is true when both are true or both are false, and other cases it is false. Now we are taking the negation of this. So negation of P biconditional Q, which is false and true, true and false. Now we have plus circle, and which I call it as say X, and negation of this which I call it as Y. Now we want to know whether X implies Y is a tautology, and X imply Y is true, it's true, it's true and true, which means this one follows and logically from this, and this is implied from this. Okay, and interestingly, now you can look at it this way. You can look at it, this itself is my capital P, and this is my capital Q. Now P implies Q, does it say that Q implies P? Okay. Now let's look at Q implies P. Okay. And Q we have discovered. What is our Q? Q is my Y, and Q is my Y, and P is my X. So now when we look at Q imply P, which is false, false, true, true, and so on, so which means you get true in all cases. So it turns out that Q implies P is also true, which means P plus circle Q is equivalent to negation of P biconditional Q. Correct? Huh? Now what is this telling us? So you have P and you have P imply Q. Now does this imply Q imply P? For example, P imply Q is true, true everywhere. Q imply P is also true, true everywhere, which means this one is a tautology, which means yes. So Q imply P follows from P imply Q. So there are some specific examples, instances where you see that this one is true. For example, when equivalence happens, you get to see this. And one can also establish that P imply Q implies the inverse also. So you can verify that P imply Q implies negation P imply negation Q. Okay, so you can also verify that this one is also true. Okay, and one can also look at logical expressions which are not of this type, meaning they are not logically equivalent, but still P imply Q implies inverse for some specific P and Q. Similarly, P implies Q imply P for some specific P and Q. For an arbitrary P and Q, it is not true. Fine. So what we have seen as part of this discussion is, given P imply Q, one can write the variance of P and Q, and using something like negation P imply negation Q, Q imply P, and so on. So something like if I study, then I score good marks. And converse will tell you, if I score good marks, then I've studied well. And inverse says, if I don't study well, then I don't score good marks. Okay. And so given P and Q, one can construct related statements such as inverse, converse, contrapositive, and so on. Hope this is fine. So what we have been discussing so far is something called proposition. It's a declarative statement taking the value true or false. Then we said a logical argument as a collection of propositions. To validate a given logical argument, we brought in the first level of abstraction by introducing something called propositional variables. Then we simplified the given argument, and by bringing in abstract variables p, q, r and so on, then we started evaluating the given argument. So to talk about this, so as part of our simplification process, we have used some well-known implications, or rather we have derived this one so and so as an implication and equivalence and so on. So with the help of implications and equivalence, we were able to simplify and comment about whether conclusion follows from the given premise or whether the given argument is valid and so on. This is good. This is really what we want to achieve as part of first order logic. Now, look at statements of this form. So I say, boys are good. Declarative statements, so all are propositions. I say, some boys are good. Third one I say, all boys are good. So fourth one I say, at least three boys are good. So you fix a context. So with respect to a context, these are all context sensitive propositions. So all are propositions. So I can say boys are good as if you follow this strategy, this is P, some boys are is Q, this one is R and this one is S. It's good. One can work with these variables and then start simplifying and see whether the given argument is true or false. But if you see, there is a limitation with respect to these proportional variables, meaning the abstraction that they are trying to represent is kind of limited. And as far as this representation is concerned, and kind of they all mean one. The Q is not trying to capture the fact that some boys are good. R is not, the variable R is not trying to capture that all boys are good. Similarly, the S is not trying to capture the fact that at least three boys are good. So now we want to increase. So this is the limitation of proportional logic, and this is the best that proportional logic can do. So now we want to increase the expressive power of propositional logic. So what we want is something that will give importance to things like some, all, at least, three and so on. Why? We want to be close to the reality. If these facts are kind of captured as part of our abstract notation, if the conclusion says, say at least 4 boys satisfy some property, some boys satisfy some property, or some girls satisfy some property, if such a thing comes as part of the conclusion, we will be in a better position to answer if the expressive power is improved. So we move from proportional logic, which we call it as zeroth order logic, to something called predicate logic. This is first order logic. So increase the expressive power of proportional logic to predicate logic. Predicate, as the name suggests, it represents some property on top of what the proportional logic is trying to discover or trying to represent. And on top of proportional logic, can you represent some more information about the statement, which will help us to simplify the argument, which will help us to say whether a given conclusion follows from the premise, and for such purpose. So what we will do is we will move from this to this, and we will see how to represent expressions in predicate logic and so on. So ZOL is a special case of FOA. So proportional logic is a special case of predicate logic. So expressions of this form we will see how to express in predicate logic. So we will bring predicates, we will bring something called quantifiers. How do we quantify this statement? Meaning how many elements from the underlying domain are taking part as part of this statement, proposition. How many elements from the underlying domain are taking part as part of this statement, proposition, and so on. So we shall now see what are predicates, what are quantifiers, and how to represent statements of this form using first order logic or predicate logic. So whatever we have discussed so far in the context of proportional logic, we will take it forward and we build on top of it by adding some more features like predicates, quantifiers, and so on. So this way, now given a context, you express them using now propositions and predicates. Just like the way we talked about the truth value of an argument in the context of proportional logic, we will talk about similar thing in the context of predicate logic as well, which we shall discuss now in detail.